and welcome to the Absolute Recap Biology Edition, where we aim to maximize your understanding and minimize your need for memorization. Each episode will recap content, skills, and test-taking tips to help you succeed in May. I'm your host, Melanie Kingett, and your recap starts now. Hi, and welcome to the Absolute Recap Biology Edition. Today's episode will recap the origin of life. Let's zoom out. We're in Unit 7, Natural Selection, Topic 7.13. Our big idea is systems interaction. On February 18, 2021, Perseverance touched down on the surface of Mars. The rover immediately sent back images of the surface of the red planet, vast, dry, and rocky. One of Perseverance's primary objectives is to conduct astrobiology, searching for signs of ancient microbial life. It will study the planet's geology and past climate, taking samples from the Martian rock. But what kind of data is it looking for? Let's zoom in. I know I have it around here somewhere. Ah, here it is. The recipe for life from primordial soup. Ingredients: carbon, sulfur, nitrogen, hydrogen, phosphorus, and oxygen. Mixed together in a warm, moist environment. Dry out occasionally. Add time and energy. Allow to combine in orderly, patterned ways. Eureka! You may have recognized some of these ingredients. Chnops, the elements found in abundance in all living things, and the building blocks of biological molecules, proteins, carbs, lipids, and nucleic acids. Once upon a time, there was a bang. Some would even say it was large or big. Okay, let's call it the Big Bang. Geologic evidence suggests that the Earth formed about 4.6 billion years ago. It was a hostile place to start. Hot, lava flowing, sulfuric, little oxygen, and no liquid water. Definitely not a place we would recognize, nor optimal for life as we know it today. Yada, yada, yada. 3.9 billion years ago, things started to cool off to support some life. And yada, yada, yada. Radiometric dating, and we have the earliest fossil evidence for life around 3.5 billion years ago. Microfossils, embedded in rock, super old. These dates are approximate, but taken all together, we get a plausible range for the origin of life. Okay, so that's the when. What about the how?
How do you explain this?
Early Earth had the inorganic precursors, or ingredients, that organic molecules could have been synthesized from. There was a lot of free energy, and there wasn't a significant amount of atmospheric oxygen. Deep breath in and out. Can you believe that oxygen used to be toxic? Oxygen is still oxygen, good old O2. But the Earth, and consequently the organisms on it, have changed dramatically over time. It should be noted that while the process of evolution explains the unity and diversity of life, the explanation for the origin of life is less clear.
But it was the great question, the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything.
And so, scientists have gathered evidence and created models to describe their thinking.
Hi there, Producer Brad here. You may be saying, what the double heck is going on here? To that I'd say, this is a recording and I can't hear you. Now, I'm not usually given the chance to speak on the podcast because I'm not a teacher, in the literal or figurative sense. I was at one point a student and a poor one. Therefore, I consider myself a bit of a connoisseur de tutor, which is Latin for tutor expert. So I know quality tutology when I see it, and the Absolute Recap virtual tutoring program is top-notch. AP classes are challenging, and sometimes you may need extra help. If you are looking for more in-depth, personalized support, sign up for virtual tutoring with your favorite podcasting teacher. Each 60-minute session is held through Zoom and is structured to meet your specific needs. So if you have a big test coming up, just can't master those multiple choice questions, or need help improving your writing skills, we've got you covered. Our tutors provide opportunities for you to practice content and skills with graded feedback. Visit our website to reserve a session with a tutor for your specific subject and time zone. Now back to the recap.
Scientists have tried many times to replicate the conditions of early Earth in the lab to show how you can spontaneously get complex organic molecules to form. There was Reddy with his meat and maggots, Spallanzani with boiled broth, and Pasteur with a swan neck flask. Most notable for abiotic synthesis is a 1953 Miller-Urey experiment. They combined water, methane, ammonia, and hydrogen in a flask, introduced an electric spark, a la lightning, and were able to make simple sugars, fatty acids, and amino acids. Dr. Frankenstein would be proud. This provided the first evidence that organic molecules could be formed from inorganic compounds. There's also the possibility that life was brought to Earth from somewhere else. Perhaps a meteorite containing microorganisms crashed here 3.5 billion years ago and set up shop.
The ship crashed on this moon of your Earth. Some of us came to Earth in meteorites. We commandeered the brains of your most intelligent scientists who constructed the ship which brought you here.
Either way, once you have your organic molecules, they still need to combine into polymers, aggregate together within membranes, perhaps coacervates, develop a metabolism to run the cell, and develop a mechanism of heredity. Whew, that sounds like a lot of work. One theory, known as the RNA world hypothesis, proposes that RNA could have been the earliest genetic material. Single-stranded, shorter, and it currently does most of the work, like protein synthesis. RNA can also act as a catalyst, called ribozymes, which supports the idea it may have been able to self-replicate. Time for unit connections. You can't appreciate the origin of life without refreshing Unit 1, the chemistry. There is also a connection to Unit 3, cellular energetics, with the connection to enzymes. And Unit 5, heredity, when distinguishing between DNA and RNA. All right, what about the exam? You do not have to know any of the experiments that are involved in the origin of life hypothesis, but this is an ideal topic to practice null and alternative hypotheses to explain their work within a prompt. This is Science Practice 3, determining scientific questions and methods. It's also a good time for Practice 6, develop and justify scientific arguments using evidence. To recap, perseverance is searching for answers to life's big question. Is there anybody out there? Elements of life, forming monomers, then polymers, and eventually metabolically active cells, required very specific environmental conditions. Although the origin of life is less certain, scientists have gathered evidence and created models to describe their thinking. Coming up next on the Absolute Recap Biology Edition, Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Today's question of the day is about metabolism. True or false? The first organisms on Earth were likely anaerobic. For the answer to the question of the day, please follow us on Instagram at TheApsoluteRecap. That's the APsolute recap. Check out our website, TheApsoluteRecap.com, for episode schedules, study guides, virtual tutoring, and to sign up for our virtual classroom. The Absolute Recap is produced by Brad Kingett with music by Zach Caruso. Today's episode was written by me, Melanie Kingett. Thanks for subscribing, and don't forget to rate and review wherever you get podcasts. Time's up. Pencils down. Thank you for listening to the Absolute Recap Biology Edition. AP is a registered trademark of the College Board. Copyright 2020, Absolute Recap LLC, all rights reserved.